And happy Friday, everyone. My name is meteorologist Heather Kay, and it's time for our daily hail forecast, sponsored as always by C3 Group, Merlin Law Group, American Contractor Show, as well as Atlas Roofing. Thank you guys, as always, for sponsoring our videos. So let's get right into our weather headlines. We still have that same front that is taking its jolly old time moving off to the south. So there are once again some marginally severe risks of severe weather along and south of that front. So we'll talk about that, as well as a few other small areas that could see severe weather today. And then getting into tomorrow, we have a marginal chance to see severe weather here in Oklahoma City. Will we see hail, or will it be mostly wind? We will check that out as well. And then lastly, we are continuing to see that relief from the heat here in parts of the central and southern plains. How long will that last? We'll talk about that as well. And then I didn't put it on here, we will check in on the tropics very briefly, just because it's been dead. We haven't talked about it for a while, so we'll check in on that as well at the very end. So here are yesterday's storm reports. We did have some activity across multiple regions of the country. The first part right here in the northeastern part of the U.S. Some scattered wind, as well as I don't know if that is a hail report. I think that may be something different. That doesn't look like a hail report, but there are some hail reports down here in parts of southeastern Pennsylvania. And then we had some scattered reports here and there from the Tennessee Valley westward to Arkansas and into Oklahoma, and then some more scattered reports here in the Four Corners region and into the desert southwest. So here are our current conditions right now. You can see we are still dealing with that front across the southeast, and some more precipitation here in parts of Kansas and Oklahoma. Quiet though in the northern part of the U.S. So we're going to zoom in first here. Right along and ahead of this same old cold front, we are once again dealing with some showers and storms across some of the same regions that have been seeing this activity the last few days. Some stronger storms here just to the northwest of Richmond, and this activity stretches all the way down into parts of southern Kentucky and into Tennessee, down into parts of northern Alabama. And then we're going to go into the central U.S. here. We're finally getting some relief from that heat. We've been getting some good soaking rains here from Oklahoma northward into Kansas and into the Texas Panhandle. And then lastly, we're going to go to the northwest, where it's quiet right now, but we could see some severe weather in parts of Montana, as well as a brief time window here in the southwestern part of Nebraska. And lastly, we're going to zoom into Las Vegas, where we can see some gusty winds later on this afternoon. But right now, you guys are dry. So here are our temperatures across the lower 48. You can once again see where that front is parked. It's only 78 in Kansas City. Go south, though, and those temperatures start to warm up into the lower to mid 90s. It's 91 in Atlanta and 95 in Dallas. So again, you can see where those contrasting temperatures are. And then with the dew points, almost the same story. It's extremely uncomfortable and humid here south of that front with a 72-degree dew point in Atlanta. You go north of that front, though, it's a lot more comfortable. St. Louis, you're seeing a dew point of 57 and a 58-degree dew point in Wichita. And you can see those higher numbers here as you get near the Gulf Coast, getting into the mid to upper 70s for dew points. So here is our future radar. Again, one particular model. We do see some storms going on right now like we just saw in our current radar. So this model's picking up on that nicely. As we go through the afternoon, these showers and storms will once again pop up along and ahead of this front and track off to the east, so Washington, D.C., down to the Richmond area, southwest, into West Virginia and parts of western actual Virginia, down into Kentucky and into North Carolina. Those pop-up storms will continue to form, and we could see a line of storms going through the Charleston, West Virginia area around 8 p.m. Central Time, so 9 p.m. Eastern, and those will continue to move off to the east-southeast, and for the most part lose their intensity as we lose that heat and humidity and the instability throughout the day. Washington, D.C., you could get a rumble of thunder or two as we get into the overnight hours, and that will move off the coast, and we should see mostly dry conditions as we wake up tomorrow morning, which is great news because I know you guys do not need any more rain. And then going a little bit to the west here, this afternoon, we are continuing to see those showers and storms right along that same front. And as we go through this afternoon, you can see more storms are expected to fire up here just to the south of Oklahoma City. We could see some marginally severe weather right along the Red River Valley, and then eastward to Little Rock, we can see some stronger storms there as well, just to the south of Memphis. And then continuing into the later evening hours, basically some of the same areas will continue to see those pop-up storms. And then you can see out here in the panhandle of Texas, the Amarillo area, we'll be watching you guys for severe weather this evening as a line of storms is expected to develop. And then as we get into the overnight, that line will then start to move into the western parts of Oklahoma, and we'll wake up tomorrow morning. We'll see some more activity here in Missouri, unfortunately, as well as northern Arkansas, and then Kansas down into Oklahoma. So it could be a bit noisy for you guys as we wake up tomorrow morning. And then we're going to check out parts of Nebraska, and then we're going to go straight up to Montana. We do have a very small window to see a few pop-up storms here in the southwestern part of Nebraska, basically from now until about 3:30 p.m. Central Time, and then that chance should start to dwindle. But then as we get into later on in the evening, this is at about 5 p.m. Central Time, we are expecting some storms to fire in the Great Falls area, and those will move off to the east here as we go throughout the evening. This should mostly be wind. I'm not expecting any hail out of this, and as they reach Billings, they should start to die off for the most part, at least in terms of severe weather. You guys could still get some showers, maybe a rumble of thunder or two here in Billings. Again, I think Great Falls will be the best area to see those gusty winds this afternoon and evening. Now, lastly, we do have a chance to see some stronger storms in Las Vegas later on this afternoon and evening, where we can possibly get stronger gusts with those storms. We do have the chance to see some general thunderstorms, just pop-up variety here in Arizona. As we go throughout this evening, you can see those storms will be pushing through the Las Vegas area, where we can again see some gusty winds with that. And then going into the overnight, you can see they lose their intensity as they'll lose that heat and instability with the sun going down there. So let's break it on down. Today's hail forecast, it's not extremely impressive, unfortunately, if you guys do want hail. We basically just have two small areas that we'll be watching this afternoon and evening into the early overnight hours. Amarillo, you guys, I think, have the best chance to see $1 to $1/2 size hail today. And then up into Scottsbluff, you guys have a brief window to possibly see $1/4 size hail today. I don't think you guys, its chances are that impressive, and I think again it's going to be a very short window for that hail chance there. Now in terms of wind, we do have some larger areas that we will be watching. The best chance surprise is with that same front that is again taking its jolly old time making its way across the southeast. I think the best chance to see those severe winds will be in the Richmond area. We saw on those model runs that line of storms that will be pushing their way through potentially this afternoon and evening. Lower end chances though to see up to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts from Charlotte westward to Nashville down to Memphis, Tennessee, and this stretches all the way to the west here from Little Rock to Ardmore, Oklahoma, right along that Red River Valley, westward to Amarillo, and then a small area up here, like we just talked about a few minutes ago, Great Falls. You guys have a chance to see up to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts this evening. And then lastly, we do have more shear available. So Las Vegas, you guys have a chance to see those 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts here where that better shear is there. So that is for today. Now getting into tomorrow, we're going to wake up and there will once again be plenty of shower and thunderstorm activity from southern Missouri and northern Arkansas westward into parts of Oklahoma and Kansas and the Texas Panhandle. That activity will move off to the east tomorrow afternoon. We could see some stronger storms potentially here in Arkansas. We'll just watch to see if they reach severe limits or not. They could just be, below severe limits. And as we get into tomorrow afternoon, that activity will start to move off to the east, but we will see some redevelopment here of some thunderstorms as we get into tomorrow evening, and then getting into tomorrow night and into the overnight hours, we can see some more pop-up storms throughout the region. So for tomorrow's hail forecast, unfortunately, I'm not seeing anything at this moment, but in terms of wind, we are going to keep an eye on central and southern Oklahoma along that Red River Valley into parts of western Arkansas with that activity. Up to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts are possible from Oklahoma City down to Ardmore, eastward to Little Rock. I think the best chances are going to be here with those line of storms moving into western Arkansas. Some scattered reports are possible in terms of wind here elsewhere across Oklahoma. So let's talk about the heat. We are finally seeing some big time relief here in the central to southern plains. You can see there are no advisories or anything out right now for the most part, just some smaller areas of advisories here across the southeastern part of the U.S. The heat right now is in the northwest where those advisories and the excessive heat warnings continue. So we are enjoying our relief here in the central and southern plains, but unfortunately, it's not going to last long. Probably just a few days. So let's look at our jet stream and see what's going on here. So here is that trough in the northeast. This is basically the cause of where that front is and bringing that severe weather in the southern part of the U.S. That will start to move off to the northeast though as we start our weekend. So tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. that main trough will start to move off to the northeast here. And then we have another little short wave trough that will be moving on in for tomorrow, and then getting into the beginning of our Sunday. You can see that wiggle here. We will keep an eye on that for the potential of some more storms in the northern plains. And then getting into Monday, that trough starts to dig a little bit here as we get into Monday and moving off to the east on Tuesday. And you can see that heat dome will once again start to build as we get into next week. So like I said, that relief that we're experiencing right now is not going to last very long. As we get into Tuesday next week, that heat will really start to build back up. And then you can see this other little trough here starting to move on in as we get from Tuesday into Wednesday. So we could see some more severe weather in the northern plains as we get into the middle of next week. So jumping to Sunday, with that little shortwave trough that will be moving through the region, we do have an area that we'll be watching for severe weather. As of right now, it's going to stay to the north of Minneapolis. If you guys do your hail dances, maybe we can expand that area, but right now it looks like it'll stay just to the north of you guys. And then we'll once again still be dealing with the potential of some pop-up storms here in the Carolinas as well as into Virginia for your Sunday. So the one thing that we haven't talked about lately has been the tropics. I thought we would jump into that. We are not experiencing anything in terms of development within the next few days. There's really nothing to talk about for like maybe the next week or two. But we are nearing the end of July and we're about to enter August. So let's take a look at our climatology. You can see that we are right there. So we are on July 29th. And once we get into August, you can see in terms of climatology, this is when we really need to start watching the tropics a little bit more carefully, as on average, this is when things start to pick up a little bit in activity. So yeah, once we hit August and really once we enter September, this is when our peak is. So it's quiet right now, but within the next week or two, we may need to start watching the tropics a little bit more carefully, as on average, that's when we start to see more in terms of tropical activity. But that's all that I have for you for now. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, as well as our TikTok page, where we've been trying to create some fun content for you guys to watch. And if you have any questions, concerns, or if you just want to say hi, you can give us a call at 855-334-4245. You can email us at info@hailtrace.com and check out our website at www.hailtrace.com. And I am meteorologist Heather Kay. I hope you all have a great rest of your Friday and a wonderful weekend.